So, Wuthering Waves just won Player's Voice at the Game Awards, the only category that is 100% fan voted, and Twitter and the internet completely had an absolute meltdown, claiming, I can't believe this gacha slop won. The dispatch was robbed. Clair Obscur was absolutely robbed. There's a lot of salt that's been, spread around everywhere that this free-to-play gacha game beat out the likes of Clair Obscur, Expedition 33, Hollow Knight, Dispatch, and Genshin Impact in a straight-up popularity vote. And I am here as someone who plays a lot of gacha games and has covered Wuthering Waves since even before the game came out. I'm going to talk to you about everyone's initial reaction to Wuthering Waves' win, why this whole, currency is the reason why this game got votes argument doesn't really make total sense, the reason why the community is very motivated to vote for WuWa in this award category, and why this is a part of a much bigger story of why gacha games are getting better, whether you like it or not, and shouldn't be treated as a complete monolith. As soon as Wuthering Waves won the Player's Voice, the timeline on Twitter exploded like crazy. We had posts left, right, and center from so many creators. Here is one from this account called Synth Potato, basically saying that no serious award show should ever be fully community voted, okay? Calling the result basically a total joke. And then another tweet from them joking that we should start a GoFundMe to stop the Game Awards running so many anime gacha slop ads. And I think the takeaway here is that people just hear the word gacha game and they treat every single game that has a gacha element as the same thing. But here's the reality. Gacha is not a monolith. Not every single game works the exact same, plays the exact same, has the exact same story, and has gameplay that works the same. You cannot treat gacha as a monolith. We have another tweet here saying it's incredibly funny that the one award Clair Obscur couldn't sweep was basically having the most insane fanbase contest and lost against a gacha game. Then we have streamers like S-Fan basically being so confused and befuddled of how did Wuthering Waves, a gacha game, win this category? And the narrative that's being put forward is extremely clear. It's not that Wuthering Waves won this award. People are mad that a gacha game won an award. And I think that is the core of the problem here. People do not care for what Wuthering Waves has to offer as a game. They just see it as a straight gacha slop and that is it. And I think that is up to us as content creators in this space of gacha games to kind of showcase why Wuthering Waves deserve to be treated like a normal game, like any other game. My channel only has 25,000 subscribers. I am not a big channel or big content creator by any means, yet whenever I cover the Wuthering Waves story, I get tens of thousands of views. These are tens and thousands of people that are invested and interested in the story and narrative and cinematography and everything that this free-to-play game is putting forward and putting out there into the world. A game that is free. It is free to do the story, and people are wanting to consume. People are enjoying it so much they want to consume other people's reactions to it. There is more to gacha than just mobile game roulette gambling slot machines, and this is just one example of that. And when it comes to gameplay, there's no shadow of a doubt that Wuthering Waves is up there of having a pretty engaging combat system that's very satisfying to use. There is a lot to like about this game that, again, is free to play. I truly believe a lot of these, regular people who aren't familiar with gachas are kind of stuck with what they believe it to be maybe 5 to 10 years ago. But these games are made to be played on PCs and consoles and have very high fidelity, and it's not just reduced to mobile game slop anymore. And when it comes to the actual community behind this game, this award isn't just like a trophy they can put on a shelf. This award came with Vindication for over a year and a half of being told that this game is just a Genshin Impact clone. It's just gacha slop. The community is toxic and this will never count as a real game because it's a gacha. And so let's go through this and tackle this. Okay, here we go. This was coming first. The currency situation is crazy. Wuthering Waves only won because these players just voted for asteroids and rewards in their silly little gacha slop game. And you know what? I'm not going to deny it. Some people probably did. Not even probably, some people most definitely did. It's kind of a thing with gacha games. You get a in-game mail reward for being nominated at the Game Awards, or whatever kind of like thing it is, and usually after you win you can get some kind of rewards afterwards. But WuWa never explicitly said, hey, if we win this you're gonna get a bunch of pulls. That was never explicitly mentioned, but there is like a level of expectation to it. So I'm not gonna deny there are definitely some people out there who would vote just because they want some pulls. But let's think about this for a minute. To get those rewards in the first place, you already have to be someone that's invested enough in Wuthering Waves to care about receiving it. Okay, someone that logs in every day, that is up to date with all the shenanigans of the Game Awards and Wuthering Waves, to go through 3 different rounds of voting. It's not just one vote, it was 3 different rounds. You had to make the effort 3 times to do this. Okay, this isn't just like a, oh, input 1 vote and then I get some rewards. This is actually like an event you have to participate in multiple times for a game you're already very invested in at this point, if you care that much to vote 3 times. That's why they do the multiple round knockouts. Honestly, it's like people treat these currency rewards as some kind of like mind control virus. Oh, we will give you pulls, therefore we're going to train you to moving your mouse and clicking your silly button to get your silly little asteroid rewards. It doesn't work that way. And like I said, there's probably a bunch of people who would go through that process over multiple days just for a couple of asteroids, just for a couple of pulls. But you can't deny that people already have to be very invested in the game to care enough to go through that process in the first place. And let's be totally honest here, in terms of fan base size, Wuthering Waves is global. It has a reasonably sized global like Western community, but the Eastern community for this game is huge. It's massive, more than you could probably, well, the normal person, average person would probably comprehend. Ultimately, the normie take is that gacha players are brainwashed by getting free rewards, but the reality is slightly different. A lot of WuWa players felt like they had a lot to prove, and let's talk about it. If you're not someone that's been in the trenches of the WuWa community, you probably haven't been aware of how much absolute nonsense and misinformation the community has had to deal with since the game's conception, since the game's release into the world. Let's talk about the most recent one that happened to Morny. Morny is a character and had a splash shot that was revealed with a bunch of promo, and there were a bunch of individuals on Twitter that began accusing Kuro Games, the creator of Wuthering Waves, of AI generating this character, pointing out very weird details about it and comparing it to clearly AI made fakes. And Kuro secretly has been using AI, and this is why this is all a bunch of slop. But surprise, surprise, this was all completely debunked. These were fake AI images that were made being touted as truth, and the WuWa community had to band together to out this misinformation and to make it clear that, hey, slandering a game like this is a benefit to no one. This doesn't help, and the community therefore came together. When Wuthering Waves first launched, it was almost doomed from the start. A lot of people couldn't play the game on day 1. It was very buggy. The story wasn't a 10 out of 10. It had its moments of being good, but a lot of it felt lackluster to many people. There were translation issues with weapons of characters that you could gacha for, which made people very angry and felt that they were being cheated out of what a weapon should be and what their character could achieve. And all of this at the very beginning stages of Wuthering Waves put it out and primed it for cancellation. Essentially, a lot of people thought this game wasn't going to make it. But the developers understood the concerns of the players, and every single patch they upped the ante. They added more events, they updated their story, made it feel more alive, they increased their cinematography of the game, they compensated the players for a bad launch, and they kept improving their game until we had the release of 2.0, when WuWa Wuthering Waves really started to explode. Since 1.0, since the beginning and release of this game, is there any wonder that the players feel like, hey, I appreciate this game and the time I've given it, that I want to go as far as to vote for it in a player's voice, in a fan vote, when the developers are constantly listening to player feedback and have been adding things consistently that players actually want in this free-to-play game? Wuthering Waves has always had to deal with comparisons to Genshin Impact, People called this a Genshin Impact clone, when in fact, it couldn't be further from the truth when it comes down to the actual mechanical gameplay and story of the game. This has been a narrative that the Wuthering Waves community has had to fight tooth and nail for the best part of a year and a half at this point, to get rid of the stigma that it is the same as Genshin Impact, that it plays the same. It's not. It is a game that is completely separate and offers a completely new experience in terms of exploration, in terms of gameplay, in terms of story. It adds something wildly different, and it's a narrative people have had to fight for a long time. Because of all this misinformation that's been put forward about Wuthering Waves and its comparison to Genshin Impact, which it was competing with in player's voice, is there any surprise that people had more of a motivation to vote for this game so the community can finally feel vindicated and finally feel free of the shackles of being compared to other games? This is more than like a trophy, it's a symbol of vindication. So let's talk about how motivation plays a part in whether or not someone will vote for a fan popularity contest. Okay, let's remind ourselves of the nominees: Clair Obscur, Dispatch, Hollow Knight, Genshin Impact, and of course Wuthering Waves. This is about motivation now, and not just what is the bigger game. Clair Obscur, okay, absolutely was going to farm the Game Awards. A lot of people knew that this game was going to probably take up numerous different ones, okay? It's one of the biggest games we've had in probably the last decade, okay? It was nominated in Best Narrative, Score, Performance, Game of the Year it was up for too. So by the time like we have player's voice, a lot of people would be under the assumption this game is already going to win a lot of awards, and they probably might throw in a vote for Clair Obscur as it comes out. But again, player's voice is a category you have to vote for multiple days in a row, and a lot of people, if you're a Clair Obscur enjoyer, I wonder if you actually went through every single vote for Clair Obscur. You already did your big votes, right? Oh, I'm gonna do all of my Game Award votes in one go. I wonder how often you would then go back to keep voting every single day for this fan vote. You submitted your votes for the big categories. You're happy. Your back isn't against the wall for anything. You're not in defense. You don't feel fired up that you have to prove that Clair Obscur must win, because I think it was obvious to a lot of people this game was gonna sweep a lot of stuff. And you have to bear in mind that these types of games, these gacha games, tend to be nominated in only two categories: Mobile Game of the Year and Player's Voice. So it means a lot more to those people when you have a limited pool of things to actually vote in the first place. I've already touched on this, but Wuthering Waves is a mobile game. You could play it on basically any device that you have, on an iPad, on your phone, on your PC, on your console. You can take it with you wherever you go, and it has a huge global audience. There's a lot in the West, and there is a lot in the East. We've already kind of mentioned this. I think people don't understand just how big the audience of these games are, because again, let's remember, they are free to play games. These are free to play games that make a lot of money every single month, and they can't do that without having a huge audience. And then we have people going, how could Wuthering Waves beat against Genshin Impact, which is arguably has the bigger fan base? Genshin Impact is massive. Hoyoverse community absolutely like clouds, I'd say, Wuthering Waves in terms of community size. But here's the thing, Genshin is no longer like an underdog that you root for. It's established in the scene. It's established in the gacha gaming world. It's already had its flowers, and it's time to shine. And let's be real, there is a lot of people who would want to vote for WuWa kind of to spite Genshin Impact, or not let Genshin Impact win again. They have more of a reason to do that. They are the underdog when it came between them, between Genshin and Wuthering Waves. So that's kind of why they outvoted everybody else in the competition. Not because people are brainwashed and desperate for free polls. People just were so invested in what this win could symbolize for the game and what the whole community has been through. And a lot of people don't notice or don't know the story of this game. The community really rallied behind this vote. There were even Facebook groups and Discords that were pinging when every single round would go live with links to get people to go and vote. It was a lot of organization going along. People had a reason to vote. They were the most motivated and invested to do so compared to all the other games, and that's why they won. But this win matters more than just for the Wuthering Waves community, but it is a symbol and a beacon for gacha games as a whole for them to be improving and to show that they have been getting better. A few years ago, the idea that a mobile gacha game would beat high-budget PC AAA titles in a mainstream, globally watched award show in a public vote would be something impossible to fathom. That a gacha beat out a AAA praised game like Clair Obscur would be like unthinkable to people. But here's the reality: Wuthering Waves has been praised for having some of the best combat and movement in any gacha of its kind, and a system that's way more forgiving than many of its competitors. The production values in its music, its cinematography, animation are becoming on par with real games that you might fork out $50 for. And it's not just Wuthering Waves. There are so many more gachas that have been raising the bar as time goes on, with bigger sounds, bigger animations, better stories, and we're going to be seeing a lot more of them in 2026. Is there still predatory monetization in this genre? Absolutely, I'm not going to deny that at all. That criticism is totally valid and should never be dismissed or go away. But the idea that a gacha equals a slop show that only wins because of bribes is just not true anymore in 2025. What the win for Wuthering Waves really shows is that these communities are big, they're organized, they no longer want to be in a position where their game is being treated lesser than other big titles, and they can go toe to toe in a lot of instances, especially narratively and gameplay wise. And at the end of the day, these people went out to vote. So, of course, you can absolutely say that Dispatch, Silk Song, or Expedition 33 deserve to win Player's Voice more. That's taste. It's completely subjective, and that's okay. You can have whatever opinion that you like. But to pretend and dismiss that Wuthering Waves didn't really win because gacha fans aren't real, it shouldn't count, or they only did it because of polls, it just comes across as a weird form of gatekeeping that's not really a meaningful critique in any sense of the word. So what do you guys think? Do you think Wuthering Waves deserve the win? Let me know in the comments. This is the rant they had at 7 in the morning, and I'm probably going to stay awake until the live stream. So I'm going to be awake for like 36 hours while I'm doing all this stuff, so I appreciate you. I hope this video reaches some normies too, and let me know what you guys think. And if you want more content about gacha games, then you should subscribe, because I cover a lot of them, and I'm going to be talking about a lot of really cool ones that are coming out in 2026, and hopefully I can show to you why people actually really like these games. So I appreciate y'all. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.
Twitch.tv/Captain Cabinetz, Captain Cabinetz.